Can we stop talking about environmental regulations killing jobs, please? We need to cut carbon pollution to grow jobs. We need to cut carbon pollution to strengthen the economy. Let's talk about this positively. Let's approach this as an opportunity of a lifetime.
So you want more jobs? Well, the president's new EPA chief says we need to fight global warming for jobs. But the top Republican on the Environment and Public Works Committee disagrees. Senator Jim Inhofe telling us, quote, the president is pursuing global warming regulations, even though we know it's going to cost $400 billion in lost economic activity per year. And all of the president's environmental regulations are estimated to cost nearly $1 trillion per year and result in over 11 million job losses. So who's right? Hi, everybody. I'm David Aslan. Welcome to Forbes on Fox. Let's go in focus with Mr. Steve Forbes, Rick Unger, Elizabeth McDonald, John Tamny, Rich Carlgard, and Sabrina Schaeffer. Steve, who's right?
Oh, obviously the senator's right. The regulations coming out of the EPA, often been not based on any real science at all, has done real damage to the energy industry, hurt energy production, hurt the economy. And if there's opportunity out there, David, entrepreneurs will find it. Big government smothers opportunities, entrepreneurs find and create opportunities.
And Rick, how about this administrator? Gina McCarthy is her name, the EPA administrator. She says if we cut carbon pollution, we will grow jobs. Is there any evidence for that?
As it turns out, and you got to let me get through this because you guys are going to want to boo me. I know it. But I will tell you, I will admit that when I first saw this question, I thought this is going to be a tough one. And then I did some research. Turns out there is a 10-state organization that runs from Maryland up to Maine who have entered into this understanding where they were going to try and cut carbon emissions. It's been going on for the past 10 years, and you'll never believe the results. It turns out that not only did they, on average, cut carbon emissions by 25%, their economies worked twice as well as every other state that was not a part of this. I know it's hard for you to believe it, but it's right there in data that came out in the past.
Rick, you don't know how much we have all restrained ourselves to let you get all that out. Of course, it is a very left-wing group. It's a group that's very supportive. Yes, it is. It's very supportive of green energies and everything, but we did let you get it out. Okay, Rich, the fact is that when you think of job growth in this country and energy, you think of places like Wheeling, West Virginia, like Pennsylvania, like your home state of North Dakota, and the reason jobs are being created there en masse is because of natural gas, is because of carbon energy, not these alternative energy products.
Yeah, it's been a great upside surprise, and no thanks due to the administration on this. This has been entrepreneurs, technologies like horizontal drilling and so forth. You know, the thing that I find really funny about Gina McCarthy is her degree was in social anthropology with an emphasis on small animals and primitive cultures. She knows nothing about economics, nothing about economic growth, nothing about science, nothing about pollution. You know, what's next? Caligula appointed his horse, you know? I mean, we're getting to this joke point here.
All right, well, Emac, the fact is the president himself has been speaking out as an authority on job creation and energy, and he spoke this week. He continues to belittle the idea that carbon energy projects like the Keystone Pipeline, for example, will create real jobs. Take a listen.
They keep on talking about this, an oil pipeline coming down from Canada that's estimated to create about 50 permanent jobs. That's not a jobs plan.
But while the president keeps belittling carbon energy plans, his own wind projects, for example, don't bear fruit at all.
Yeah, he's completely impenetrably absurd with his habitual self-deception. And by the way, TransCanada is building that pipeline to the east, and guess what? Everybody to the east loves it because they see the jobs coming. So, you know, here's the deal. Under this president, the regulatory workforce has grown 20%. We get it that this president loves rules, and he's going to rule by fiat, circumventing Congress, circumventing the courts. That's so bad for job growth, which is flatlining in this country, and we have a record 28 million part-timers in this country. He's wanting to swap the successful energy jobs with poor jobs in alternative energy, the cylinder jobs and the wind farm jobs that don't really create a lot of jobs.
John Tamny, look, I would love for wind projects to work. I really want to give Rick the benefit of the doubt on a lot of these things, but Here you have to decide between an EPA administrator who is a lifetime bureaucrat and the people who are creating real jobs right now in North Dakota, in Pennsylvania, in Wheeling, West Virginia. I mean, who are you going to believe?
Well, you'd love wind energy if you lived in the 11th century, but back in the real world we live in now, these regs will hurt jobs and they'll also hurt the environment. Regs don't work, but they do inhibit profits, which inhibit investment, which inhibits job creation. And when you look at the environment, the greatest driver of environmental health is prosperity. When people are prosperous, they care more about the world around them. These regs will hurt economic growth, which by definition is going to hurt the environment.
And Sabrina, the jobs the president keeps lauding, the wind jobs, et cetera, $4.3 billion federal dollars. Your tax dollars went to create 36 wind farms. At the peak of construction, they had 7,200 jobs. The Wall Street Journal went back, the news side of the Journal went back to check out how many of those 7,200 jobs remain. There are 300 people, just a fraction, a tiny. So if anything, it's these alternative energy projects that don't leave sustaining jobs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think everyone on the panel today wants to have a clean environment. We all want a clean environment for our children, but we have to balance that consideration with our very real need for energy supply and our very real need for economic growth and job creation. And let's not forget, Gina McCarthy, who clearly, as we heard, scoffs at her critics, has been at the heart of the president's war on coal, which produces 42% of our electricity supply. So I think that we have to really think hard about having a woman who is relying consistently on junk science, even has been criticized from her own agency, allowing her to impose these kind of regulations that will cripple our economy.
And Rick, unintended consequences, Rick. Let's focus on the war on coal for a second, because this administration doesn't like coal. They want to limit it here. And I understand they've got good intention in terms of limiting pollution. We all want less pollution. But what happens? Okay, we stop using the coal here because of EPA regulations. The coal producers sell their coal to China that have really dirty energy plants in China. So the world pollution becomes worse because we're not using the coal in our clean coal plants.
Well, first, let me say to Rich Caligula, Carlgard, I do the jokes around here. That's number one.
We all get a little joke in now and again.
Number two, that's kind of a weird argument, David, I have to say.
It's pretty accepted by just about everybody. It's not weird at all.
If you'd let me
we don't
answer,
produce
I'll tell
the
you why it's a
coal,
weird
the
argument.
Chinese will do it in their dirty plant.
You're right. But this is why I'm saying it's an odd argument. Is that an argument to make because another country is going to foul the environment by using this coal, that we should do it instead of...
No, hold on. Wait. You asked the question. It's a fair question. The point is that we are producing cleaner coal plants.
Are we, though?
And they are not.
Listen, yes, we are. Sorry, Steve. Yes, we are. Our companies, if you leave our U.S. companies alone, Rick Unger, you will let them develop clean technologies, which they're doing with carbon capture, with methane capture, and creating more jobs and stopping pollution, which we all want.
And by the way, our emissions of carbon dioxide are now at 1994 levels. And that's primarily because of natural gas, fracking. Let entrepreneurs do it. They'll do it. Cleaner environment, more energy. Get these bureaucrats out of the way.
But then you have to admit that the Obama administration is allowing them to do it.
No, they're not. Hold on.
Not on federal lands.
John Tamny, the bottom line here is who can allocate capital more efficiently? Is it the bureaucrats like the EPA administrator, or is it the people in the private sector? I mean, that's all you have to ask.
It's the private sector, and it goes back to prosperity. I look at it this way. You don't hear about junior league chapters opening up in Bangladesh, but you do hear about it in the United States. It's when people prosper that they have the time and money to care about the world around them. If you want a good environment, you have to grow the economy first.
Very lively debate, guys. Thank you very much. Coming up next, lawmakers in Washington pushing plans to raise taxes again. But did Motown's collapse? Detroit just proved those plans are going to take America down the same dangerous road. We'll debate that coming next. The Man in the Mirror worth a lot post-mortem, but just how much? Michael Jackson's family reportedly seeking $40 billion from AEG Live. These are the promoters behind the This Is It tour. His family claims the group negligently hired Conrad Murray. Forbes' Zach O'Malley Greenberg is currently writing a book on the business of Michael Jackson. He joins us now. So, Zach, you're the perfect person to ask. Is he worth $40 billion?
Well, I mean, $40 billion is a pretty outrageous amount of money. If you think about the entire music industry, you could probably buy the top 3 record companies in the whole industry and still have enough money to buy the Yankees with half of that amount of money. So, you know, I mean, $40 billion, I don't know. I don't know if
So can you put a price tag on it? If not 40, how much?
Oh, we're talking about the value of the estate, the value that he would have earned. I mean,
the whole shebang.
I mean, if he would have lived and gone on this tour, you know, I think he certainly could have earned, you know, up at the very upper reaches, along with Madonna, who earned $125 million last year. Lady Gaga earned $80 million a year.
Okay. Well, Steve, you've got a name that's worth at least a couple of $2 billion, so you're the perfect person. Well, heck, we named a show after you, for goodness sake.
Steve's going to leave the studio now. Don't tell him that.
What about this $40 billion?
Now the IRS is coming after me real big time. Oh,
I'm making a call to my
We'll be your
friends.
witnesses. But what about the $40 billion price tag for Jackson?
It's preposterous. Just lawyers out there throwing a big figure, hoping they get something. They shouldn't get a penny from this. The tour had nothing to do with his behavior, and it's one of these sad cases where the man's worth more dead than alive, like Elvis, because, you know, people then focus on his music. I saw that Cirque du Soleil show out in Las Vegas on Michael Jackson. You realize what a fantastic artist he was, but during the latter part of his life, he was his own worst enemy.
Sabrina, what do you think?
Well, when I hear $40 billion out loud, all I can think of is sort of like the Defense Department, you know, contractor budget. I mean, this sounds so outrageous, but the reality is this is one entertainer who may be worth more as he ages or after he dies. The fact is he's the #1 dead celebrity, earning more than $200 million, and he is trailed behind with Elvis.
Real quick.
It's nonsense. First of all, I don't think he's going to win, or the estate's going to win this case in the first place. It's a baloney case, and even if they did nothing in the universe of that, his whole estate's worth $600 million. How one concert tour could be worth $40
I think it
million?
actually might be worth more than that if you factor in the ATV cap.
Morgan, real quick.
Bingo, I agree, and I think Steve hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, I think this is an influential artist who's worth more dead than alive, and I think his publishing catalog is what's going to be most lucrative.
Coming up, Forbes magazine just